Hey guys, this is Noelle Dodge with Bond. So we're back. This is lesson 5, and today we're talking about boundaries. So if you've been following along, it has been quite a journey so far. But if you've been following along, you've been watching yourself, bird's eye view, really taking a self inventory of how you're showing up in the world, who you're being. And like a house, you would not show up to a home without an invitation. You would not just walk into somebody's house without first announcing yourself, without ringing the doorbell, without knocking. You wouldn't just go into somebody's house when they're not expecting you. You could, but it would be extremely rude, and people will start locking their doors and not inviting you over. So, when we are dealing with other human beings, each of us is our own house. And some people feel like it is their right to just barge right in and be themselves in our homes. I mean, could you imagine somebody coming into your home? You invite them into your home and they just walk right in, put their muddy shoes right on top of your coffee table, grab the remote, sit in the seat like the prime seat in the house, start changing the channels, asking you to go get them something to drink. Like, hello, there's a certain way to behave when you come into someone's house, especially for the first time, or someone that you respect. Some people think there's nothing wrong with, oh, I'm glad they feel comfortable coming into my home being like that. And then they're the same people going, I don't know why people walk all over me and think that they could just treat me however they want. Because you don't have any boundaries, you don't have any standards, because you don't want to be called a bitch. So, but when you have boundaries and standards, people respect you because they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because not only are they forcing me to treat them in a certain manner, but also my needs are getting met better by holding that standard for the relationship. So people who love you and want to respect your boundaries will start to see the benefit the boundaries pay off for themselves as well. So, as you know, I'm not the best drawer and I am like ridiculous. So, let's take a look at what we have here. This is my beautiful artwork. So, okay, so we have boundaries here, right? So, boundaries are everywhere. We have state, counties, school districts, the door on your home. All of those are boundaries. So, why would you be in a relationship with someone and not have boundaries? So, I love when people are like, we don't do boundaries. Yeah, you're exactly the people who need boundaries. Okay, so you can have good intentions, but if your subconscious belief is full of a bunch of BS self hatred, then you are going to sabotage yourself. And by sabotaging yourself, you are sabotaging everyone in your circle. So it's important to have boundaries. So you start with the foundation. You don't just build a house, you set the foundation before you build the house. What is the foundation set on? Well, your principles. So if your principles are, well, I walk the line because I love my family and I do what I have to do because I love my family. Okay, so your family is your principle. Future generations. For myself, I personally want to leave something for future generations. Like, I'm willing to have my family hate me so that I can chase a dream and a career to provide something for families in crisis so that someday my great grandchildren, who I will never even meet, will stand on a property and say, wow, I wish I would have known her. Because I'm not relying on the stories of the people around me about me. I'm leaving my own legacy. I'm not going to rely on others to leave my legacy for me. So, because I don't trust the people in my circle, I don't trust what they would say about me. So, I need to make sure that I'm leaving my own legacy. No, that's not. It is part of it, but I also want to leave a mark in the world. I also want to, not for me, but like knowing that I came here, I learned a lot about families, and I left something for future families and my great grandchildren may, I hope, never understand what my children, myself, and my parents went through as children. That's my hope. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I want to do my part to try and make that not be the case. So, anyhow, back to my pretty little picture. So, you've got step one, your values and your principles. So that's your foundation. Step two is like the structure of the house, right? Step three is like the windows. You got to put the walls up first before you can put the windows in, right? So there's all these different boundaries that make up the house of you. They're not all the same. The door may provide safety, the windows might provide security, or vice versa, whatever the case is. The roofs provide shelter. The house itself provides a need for survival, right? So all of it, all of the boundaries protect the five basic needs: survival, love and belonging, a place for people to gather; power, you have equity in your home, you have, if you need to in an emergency, you have something of an investment; freedom, you have the freedom to come and go, to paint the color of the house, to mow the lawn or not mow the lawn; and fun. When your needs are being met, fun just comes naturally. So boundaries are necessary to keep your five basic needs as a human being met and the five basic needs of the people you love met. If your five basic needs are being met by taking away the freedom of others, by taking away the love and belonging, which could look like, if you have a relationship with your mother, then you can't have a relationship with me. If you have, that's not love and belonging. That's threats and gaslighting. Like that is those are threats and it's abuse. So it doesn't meet the needs. It's saying, I'm going to take away the need of your mother having love and belonging for my need for love and belonging, as well as power to get my needs met. I'm going to take away to get my need for power and my need for love and belonging met from someone else. A boundary needs to be put in place. A boundary needs to be put in place so that child is free to love both mom and dad without being threatened the loss or the affection or love of another parent. It shouldn't be, well, I have to not talk to my mother because my stepmother is too emotionally imbalanced to handle, and she's too jealous to handle me having a relationship with my mother. And then that upsets my dad, and then because I really don't have a secure attachment relationship with my father, I'm willing to throw my mother under the bus. Well, who does that hurt? It hurts the child, even though, and yes, it hurts the mother, but most of the time moms know, or dads, sometimes it's the dad and the mom's the one doing this, that other parent knows that this is what that parent is doing, and you just kind of back away and let it be. Like, unfortunately, you have to be excluded and allow that to be, because that'll show itself. Like, especially when the children start to have children, because it's like, oh, well, if you're not present to manipulate that child or to participate in the manipulation of the child, then you didn't do anything, right? Because you're not involved. They're in a pattern of manipulating the child with the mother. The mother's no longer there. Now there's a grandchild. That pattern's going to repeat, where they're going to manipulate the child against the mother who was once the child. That child's going to see it crystal clear. That child's going to get it right away. And that is going to have a devastating consequence for everybody, because there was no boundaries involved. There was nothing in place. There was nothing safe, secure. It didn't foster love and belonging. It didn't have an equal balance of power and freedom. It was all meeting the needs of one person. So the whole family dynamic. And I share that experience because I hear it countless times from countless women who are like, I don't know what happened. My kids, all of a sudden just switched. I'm hearing it from men. I'm hearing it from women. It's like these, I don't know, one parent is, I don't know, but it's an epidemic. Whatever the case is. And I use that as an example because I hear it so much. It has impacted my own life, and I've heard other people, like countless people, going through it. It's a thing. So, um, it's just an example of why boundaries are so important, why boundaries are needed. And when boundaries are set, it's not an ultimatum. It's not, if you don't do what I say, then here's the consequence, and the consequence is you're going to do what I say. That's a threat and an ultimatum, but it's not a boundary. A boundary says you have needs and I have needs, and where both of our needs are going to be met, but we're going to have this common line of what that looks like because we're going to involve our values. So that looks like respect. That looks like honest communication. That looks like humor because we want to have fun, right? So all these values are added into the boundaries. So if you look at it kind of like a fence, when you put fence, you set them in concrete, right? So the posts that's set in concrete would be your values. And those are, respect, communication, humor, honesty, trust. Those are your poles that are set in concrete. The boundaries are, what are the rules that we're going to put into place that get our needs met? And we don't do it in a bully way, we do it using our values. Does that make sense? So we don't want to use it in a bully way, meaning if you don't do this, the consequences, like, I'm never going to see you again, or I'm going to delete you from Facebook, or you're no longer to come over to my house for the next 8 months, like whatever the case is, those are bully tactic behaviors. Those are not boundaries. Those are abusive, and they work against the family unit. They don't bring community and connection. They don't foster love and belonging. They don't provide any freedom, and they're certainly not any fun. And there's no power there. There's a false sense of power of the person who's acting like the bully, but in the end, that bully ends up being isolated and not having anybody in their corner when they get to a certain point because they've bullied everyone out of their life. And then they find themselves being isolated and victimized and having no resources to turn to because they bullied everyone away. And that's part of another whole nother topic about spousal psychological abuse, and how the part of the psychological abuse is the target person starts to become the person pushing their resources away, so the actual person that's being abusive appears innocent, right? Because we're all responsible for our own choices. So if you don't trust yourself, you trust someone else more than you trust yourself. You become that person that pushes away all your people and hating on yourself because you're influenced by trusting someone more than you're trusting yourself. See how that all ties in together? Okay, so that's session 5, boundaries. And here's the thing is that when you go through the program, of course, you have my support. We break it down for you individually. This is a generalization. I'm sure you get what I'm talking about. If you want to do the work, dive in and do it. If you don't, figure it out for yourself. I don't know what to tell you, but boundaries work. Boundaries work when you implement them with your values. And it meets the needs of both parties. Both parties. That's the key to boundaries. Has to meet the needs of both people, and it has to be solidified with your values and your principle. Have your foundation. Your foundation is your principles. The structure is your values. Okay, guys, and the boundaries are the walls, So I'm sorry. Yeah, the boundaries are the walls, or the doors, the windows, where things can come in and out. Those are your boundaries, right? Like in a state lines, county lines. You can come in, you can go out. It comes in, it comes out. Fences, gates, in, out. You can let them in, you can let them out. So those are boundaries. You have your principles, which is the foundation, the concrete, and your values are the posts that hold those boundaries in place and keep everything safe. Okay, so think about areas of your life this week, going into next week, areas of your life where you need boundaries, people, places, and things. I had to put a boundary in place with Hobby Lobby. Like seriously, I couldn't spend more than a certain dollar amount, and I couldn't go there more than once a month. And since they're closed on Sundays, that made it even easier because it's four days out of the year or 4 days out of the month that I don't have to even think about it. So like it could be a bar, it could be a food, it could be a substance, it could be anything, it could be video games, it could be whatever is getting in the way of you being productive, whatever is occupying your time more than anything else. Take a look at what boundary. Doesn't mean you have to stop cold turkey, doesn't mean you have to throw it all out and get all radical. What's the boundary you can put in place with the people, places, and things that are getting in the way of your success? And you don't have to do that. You just have to take note of it. Bring it with you next week. We're going to take it further next week. But have that in your preparation of, what are the people, places, and things that are getting in the way of your success, and what are the boundaries? And then we can kind of work on what boundary needs to be put into place. Okay, that's all I had to say. You guys have a great night, and I will see you soon. Bye.